criticise about their parenting skills, but we used to... I mean, I had every book that was going when I was having children, but I also put a lot of store on my mum. And I think most of us of our generation did. You know, they'd been there, they'd done it. They were best of all when there was something wrong. A baby wouldn't stop crying. You think you'd done everything. You'd fed them, you'd changed them, you'd made sure that they were comfortable, and yet, you know, they were still... I mean, I had one like that, and it turned out to be colic, and my mum was marvellous about that, because that really sort of gets you down, doesn't it?
So I relied on my friends, really, because I obviously had Jack later than most of my friends had already had their children. So I was 42. Every time I asked my mum something, she went, "Oh, I can't remember what we did so long ago." So I relied totally on friends. I was forever on the phone going, "Why won't he stop crying? When do I stop weaning him?"
But I think that's a good thing. You do rely on other mums, you know, who've got maybe a bit older than yours, so they've been there and done it. And you don't need qualifications. Your qualification is the fact you're a mum and you've been through it and you pass that.
But I think this is... Also, Janet, you said when you did that programme where you had to teach that there were children coming into school who had had no breakfast, who
they were wearing their night clothes, and they hadn't been washed or anything, and it was heartbreaking. And the schools might ask these parents to come in and talk to them, and they never ever would, because obviously the parents need a different approach, I think. What bothers me about Alan Milburn saying that 2 in 5, you know, parents need parenting classes, and a charity saying like 4 out of 10 parents don't have emotional bonds with their children. This is so judgmental. I mean, I didn't have particularly close emotional ties with my family, and I've turned out all right. I think we've got to be careful not to impose. What do you mean? Laughing. I could no more have an intimate conversation with either of my parents, and I think the emotional contact was a 0. So it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but what bothers me is the number of children starting at school who are handicapped by the fact they've got no social skills, and they are not read to, and they're not... You know, the home life is challenging and frightening for them, and school becomes a refuge,
and I think
that's not good.
No, and like Colleen said, I think, you know, I see so many young mums, they seem like kids themselves to me, having children. And I think the minute you see a headline like "Teach bad parents to cuddle their children," it's so judgmental. I think if you can get to those young mums without judgment and saying... you know, when they have their babies, look, we're running these groups and it's other mums, and we'll show you how to do things and ask anything you want to ask.
I think that's
You've got to get to them there, not immediately this, like, you're bad parents and therefore you need sorting out.
Yeah, and Alan Milburn also said something about teachers ought to be encouraged to call out bad parents. Now, what does that mean? Stand at school in the morning and say, you know, little Johnny in the front row, your mother's awful. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't sort of improve anything, and they would just get further and further away from any kind of help.
OK, well, that's what we think.